Last time we spoke about the inner representations, the subconscious mind, and all the videos that we run to give meaning to what people say. So if there's conflict, I say this, you say something else, we each have a video in our mind, and we keep talking about that. And mostly we assume that the other person hears us. And so the first prerequisite is that if I say something, the other person has to respond by saying, this is what I heard. And then there's fine tuning. While this is going on, both parties are mindful of the fact that they're watching a different movie. And then some process which gets facilitated normally, I don't think people do this on their own, a facilitated process will lead to some kind of a convergence where this movie and that movie, or this cat and that cat, as we saw from last week, somehow come closer. Now, to put this in perspective, I think, if I don't remember the actual reference at this moment, but back in the 70s or late 60s maybe, at UCLA, if I'm not mistaken, they did a study where they were doing hypnosis experiments. So they had two people, A and B, and every morning they arrive at the particular area where they are, and they have two beds, and they both lie down. And A talks to B and says, okay, imagine, close your eyes, and imagine we're walking down the road, and we see this, and we see a tree, and we see a dog, and we see a house. And it went on like this, 9 to 5 every day, every day, every day. After a few days, let's say 4 or 5 days, person B could preempt what A was going to say. So that the guy would say, walking down the road, and B would say, hey, I see a bird on the tree. And A would say, quite right. What color is the bird? Yellow. Well, I'm seeing the same bird. And so the two of them go to a state where they were technically seeing the same movie. Obviously, there would have been some differences, but in general terms, they were the same. What's most important, however, is after a couple of weeks of doing this, person B disappeared. So there was just one person in the mental space. Now, this is an extreme, what can I call it, possibility in terms of convergence and how much people can be identified with each other. And again, if one reflects on relationships that one might have been in, you will remember that there were times where the two were much closer together, at other times miles apart. So having said all of that, now I'd like to focus on the emotional side, okay, which is item number 4. I'd like somebody to volunteer, as it were, to explore the emotional part of any interaction, let alone conflict resolution.
Yeah, I'm keen.
Great, Johan. Wonderful, man. Thank you. Okay, so the way we're going to do this, first of all, something that Leon and I do is most of the time we try and work content free. In other words, I don't want to hear your story. This is your private life. Whatever experience it is, it belongs in your mind. We're not interested in that. But what I am interested, for the sake of this discussion, if you can reflect on something that made you very unhappy, very upset, angry, fearful, whatever it is, can be any time in your life, but it must be real, and you must be able to feel it. Okay. So if is it possible to I mean, is this a conflict situation?
It's a stressful, it's a stressful situation, but also conflict, and it happened a couple of months back, I guess.
Okay. Now, the first thing I want to check, first of all, I assume it's clear to everybody that a person's emotional response has a clear and definite functional value. If you're walking down the street, I don't know, a bear jumps out of a tree, you better be frightened and you better run. Obviously, okay, if somebody does something unacceptable, you better get angry. If you don't, there's something wrong with you, okay? But putting that aside, in every animal, like if you watch game shows and, you know, people go into the game reserve and view animals, and let's say some lion is chasing some buck. If the chase, and the buck escapes, when the chase is over, the buck doesn't go in the corner and say, oh my God, it can happen again tomorrow. What am I going to do? I better move. I better immigrate because there's lions everywhere. Nothing. It's over. It's done. Unfortunately, with humans, we don't have that. When the event is over, the next morning, the next night, especially at night at 3 in the morning, actually it's the worst. This thing comes back, the emotions come up, and then you find yourself in a bit of a spot. So this is the dimension that I'd like to focus. Now, before we start, I want to make a perhaps bold or even controversial statement. I'm going to say that in the absence of a stimulus, an unpleasant emotion has a purpose. Now, let me pause here and make this clear. I'm sure you all know, in America at least, a third of the population is on antidepressants. Another third is taking sleeping tablets. I mean, it's an opiate addiction pandemic. It's serious, in other words, right? So what we're talking about here, again, because we're doing it in a sort of a kind of a workshop type environment, it's not a real session, in other words.
Yeah.
We're operating within certain parameters. That's what however, the principle that I'm going to show you guys now is universal. It applies to children, to adults, to in any situation. So here's the statement. Or rather, let me not say, let's do it and then we'll conclude. So, Johan, if I were to say to you, this feeling you describe, does it have a name? Do you call it something?
No, it's anger.
Anger, great. And okay, well, there's clearly some feeling there, right? So that's good. So where do you feel it? In your body, where is it?
I would say it's between my head and my heart.
Okay, great.
It's like
So
bounce up and down.
So, okay. So now, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to identify where it is. The second thing is, can you tell us more or less how big it is?
It's reasonably big, but luckily for me, if I may,
Show me with your hand. Okay, that's sort of size. Great stuff. And so, does it have a shape?
It's more like this size.
Oh, okay. Oh, okay. Now this is important. this is important, right? The call to action, you know what I mean?
Yes, yeah, that's the one.
Okay, but now if we just take a moment, right? I will give you the theory afterwards. Let's get the doing first. And so we called it anger, right? So now what I'm going to invite you to do is something really strange. Please do it nicely as follows. In your mind, you can close your eyes if you like.
Okay.
You're gonna close your eyes and you're gonna say to the feeling, hello, I really don't know what you are, but the fact that you are here, can you please, nicely, with nice tone of voice, could you please tell me what is your purpose? Now, as you do that, your attention must be on the shape and the size of the feeling. And all I want to hear is if the feeling changes. It becomes smaller, if it changes in texture.
Yeah, that's more or less the same still.
Okay, no problem. And so give us more feedback as to what it looks like. You said it's moving. Has the moving continued, or is it now changed in movement?
Yeah, I would say it sits more down to my gut.
Oh, so it's oh, wait a minute. So that's a change, right? From bouncing up and down, now it's descended to your gut. Okay. Now, for the sake of this conversation, we're going to call that feedback. And I'm going to suggest that this thing that seems to be blind anger actually is intelligent. And I'm going to say, I said it before, I'm repeating it, it has a purpose, which will be revealed in a moment. Now, I want you to put all your attention where the feeling is now. And again, show me with your hands, how big is it? And what is its texture? Is it hot? Is it cold, heavy, light? How big and what texture?
Oh, it's definitely hot.
Hot. Okay, great.
It's definitely hot, but it's not that big. It's I think because I'm starting to unpack it and then starting, so it's coming.
Okay.
More or less like that.
Let's clarify something here. You've had this feeling for a few days now. How long have you had it for?
No, there's been 3 nights in a row, 3 o'clock in the morning kind of thing. So it's been going on for a while. And I think what happened today just triggered it again.
Right. The point that I want to make is, and please correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe you don't have much control over this thing. Because if it was under your control, you could switch it off and it would be gone. it's
I
still
would, I
there.
would like to have more control over it.
Right. Okay. So what I'm suggesting, before we get into control and all that kind of stuff, let us take the scientific approach. Let's examine this thing, right? And this is what we are doing. Let's find out what we are dealing with, then decide if control is even necessary. I'm going to say there's no need for control, but I will show you so you'll know for yourself. So what are we doing now? All your attention on the feeling. You said to me, how big is it again? Show me with your hand, sorry.
Yeah, it's
okay, like that. And the texture of it, you said is hot. Is it dense? Is it light? Is it heavy? What is it?
It's heavy, dense, and it's hot.
Great. Heavy, hot, and dense, and it's in your gut, you said, okay? Okay, now put all your attention on the feeling again and say, thank you for the feedback. In other words, it moved in that direction, which we call feedback. Say, thank you for that. What else am I supposed to know? And just take your time. There's no hurry here. Okay. Was the response in words, or did the feeling change in shape and texture? Just focus on the feeling. Has it changed in size?
Yeah, it has become smaller.
Okay, great. So now I want you to follow the feeling. As it's becoming smaller, is it shrinking in size, or is it moving further down? What is it doing actually?
It's more dissipating.
Okay, so it's shrinking in size. It hasn't moved.
Yeah, it's shrinking in size, but it's also sort of
less.
Yeah, dissipating.
Fantastic.
Yeah, it's becoming
excellent. So put all your attention on the feeling with the same question. Thank you very much for the feedback. What else am I supposed to know? And again, we're not looking for information. We're not looking for some words. We're looking for something else. The feeling will show you, but you just follow.
Okay.
Okay. Now what happens?
Well, it's becoming less and less and less.
Okay. As the
heat is gone. The heat is gone.
Great. As the feeling is becoming less and less and less, what do you notice? What do you become aware?
Well, I notice that I become calmer and that I can breathe better.
Right. And there's no control.
Oh yeah, no, the control's gone.
So you've kind of put yourself in a student type relationship. Please teach me. Please show me that whichever way, right? And the feeling says, now that you're talking like this, let me show you. And it's as it's shrinking in size and dissipates, I want you to follow it with all your attention. Don't lose it. As it's getting smaller and weaker, I want your attention to become like a laser and follow it wherever it goes. As the feeling gets weaker, your attention has to become stronger and follow it like you don't want to lose it. Let your attention become powerful and follow the feeling as it does what it does.
Okay.
What happens now?
Well, truth is sort of gone.
Yeah. Again, I'm giving you feedback now. If I had to, and you will see the video because I'll send it to you, right? If you look at your face when we started to where you look at your face now, you'll know. How do you feel now?
Well, much more relaxed. I was
right. Right.
Yeah.
Now, again, you are a very quick thinker. Your mind reacts quick. I had to say to you, wait, hang on, don't rush, take your time a few times just to, okay. But even within the constraints of the time that we have, the feeling, where did it take you when you asked it? If you didn't ask it, it'll just sit there and torture you. As soon as you say, please show me, woof, it went to what? To this state.
Yeah.
The feeling brought you to the way you're feeling now. Now,
okay, got it.
With this knowledge, what would you now call this feeling? In the beginning, you called it anger. Okay, fine. Now, what is this feeling to you?
Oh, it's a good question because I don't really know. It's not really a feeling anymore. It's a non-event. So I don't have attachment to it.
It's a non-event now. But in the process of leading you to this point of stillness, what was the function that it performed to do that for you?
Well, I would say the function that it had to do is take me from really an anger point to a point where the anger is gone, and that's a lesson or not a lesson. That's a journey.
Yes. What kind
in the
of
function?
What kind of person or whatever it is does that for a person? This feeling before, it was anger. You'd seem to suffer. Okay, suddenly you realize, no. This thing brought me to here. What do you call that? What is that? What does that?
It's transformation.
Yes.
Teacher.
Well, teacher is a word that works for Eileen, but I don't know. Does it work for you?
Therapist.
No, that's
no, but that's a person. That's not what happened to me. What happened to me is this journey from this anger to that point.
Yes.
And that for me is a transformation process, because you go from one side to the other side, and you need to transform and go through a specific process to get to there.
So can we then say that from your side you showed willingness?
Oh yeah, no, for sure.
To follow, because you were not in control, you were following. And the feeling was some kind of, again, these are my words, right? Find yours. I would say some kind of a guide. Now, let me tell you the obvious thing, right? You say, no, well, I practice meditation. Well, this thing for you is the best meditation teacher you've ever had. And let me say another crazy, exactly. You can't escape it.
Yeah, you can't.
If you escape it, you burn. Whoa, I don't want that. When you follow, it takes you to a place of utter stillness. And please believe me, we did this in such a hurry, it would have taken normally a lot longer, in such a way that you would be sitting in total silence and thinking, my God, now I know what meditation is. Now I know. Now, and here's the punchline, right? The feeling that started off as a problem, as an obstacle, as something to get rid of, people go and pop pills to do all these things, turns out to be a benefit. In your case,
see where you're going with it.
In your case, it's like Yoda. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know, you enter the cave, Yoda says, aha, I'm here, come, you know, right. And you end up within yourself. You didn't have to go to the kitchen, right? It all happened. And there's a complete transformation of the purpose of the feeling. Okay, now I'm being very mindful of the time. We've got literally 2 minutes left. So I want to wrap up this for the sake of the video, Johan. Okay. And so what I'm going to say, therefore, is this, in TC, I'll get back to you if you log in again after, because I want to finish this. Okay. So for now, what I want to say is this, that step number 4, okay, in the process presupposes what we've done. Because if we didn't do this, there's no way you're going to get off anger. There's no way. But if you realize anger has a destination, which is super desirable, then you go there. Now, from this space, you would then go in a different direction to find inspiration. Okay? So for the sake of this video, what we've achieved for today, for today's session, is we found neutral gear. You were in the gear of anger, and through this very quick intervention, we found neutral. Where you're not in anger, you're nowhere. You are absolute stillness and silence. You're not this, you're not that. Yep. This is a very, very fundamental, what can I say, meditation experience. And so we're going to conclude that for now.